Alright, if you don't know what Girl Meets World is, it's basically just, this girl that learns about the world, I guess. Kind of like, it's Boy Meets World that was, however many years ago, and this is basically that, but it's the main character's daughter, so now she's the main character, and so, we have some of the same characters from Boy Meets World, and also new characters, and some of the other characters also have kids in the show here, and yeah, so that's kind of what it is. It's basically Boy Meets World, but for a younger generation, and it's Girl Meets World instead. And yeah, so that's kind of what that is. And yeah, last Disney Summer, last year, I talked about the Girl Meets Farkle episode, and it was basically about autism, and it was just a not great episode. As an autistic person myself, I was so uncomfortable watching that episode when I first watched it, so yeah, it was a big yikes for that episode. So, yeah, if you want to watch that video that I did, then I'll probably have it at the end of this video, so if you want to watch it, you can watch it like after this video. And yeah, so let's get into the Girl Meets Belief episode. Um, and I titled this video Girl Meets Atheism because that's kind of what it is, because the characters, you know, like the main family is like Christian or whatever. Like, I don't actually don't, like, even though I just watched it a few days ago, I don't remember if they outright say Christian, but it's a lot of, I think they mentioned like church and whatever though, so, but yeah, it's usually like people, I guess, assumed that's Christian because there's a lot of Christian whatever in there. And they talked about like praying and stuff throughout the show and everything, so yeah. But also it's like in this episode they only really talk about Christianity and atheism, and so it's kind of just like you talk about one religion and then not believing in any gods at all. Like that's all you're going to talk about. You're not going to bring up any other religions that aren't Christianity. Like, there's Islam and Judaism and a lot of pagan stuff. Like, you're not gonna bring up anything else about any other gods or anything. Like, that's a little, like, what? Like, I don't know. I do wish they brought up at least a couple other religions other than Christianity, because, like, that's not the only religion that exists. Like, sure, it's a big religion, but still, like, there's other religions that are pretty big too, so I don't know. So that's a little weird. And then they only talk about atheism too, because the other two characters are atheists, and it's kind of just like, I don't know. They could have at least mentioned some other religions that aren't Christianity though, so I don't know. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to get into the episode itself now. So, the first part of the episode starts with Maya picking up a dollar bill and being like, oh hey, I found a dollar bill. That's cool. I can use it to buy something. We can go get some, like, I don't know, food or whatever. I forgot exactly what it was because it's been like a few days since I watched it, but I did write down a bunch of stuff, so I wrote down like the important parts. But yeah, she is like, picks up a dollar bill and she's like, hey, we can go buy something. And then Riley's telling her that, like, oh no, we can't, it's wrong, that's someone else's dollar. And it's like, someone left it there, like, they dropped it. So, like, I don't know if they would ever really come back for it. Like, I don't know. It just seems like the way the episode kind of does this scene kind of makes it seem like, only atheists can pick up the money and, like, keep it and whatever. And it's like, Christians do that too? Like I've literally I know Christians that do that have done that. Like they pick up loose change that's on the ground and use it. Like Like it just seems a little weird that they're portraying it as like, oh, Amaya, the atheist, picks up money that's off the ground, and then Riley, the Christian, is like, oh no, we can't, it's bad. It's like, what? I don't know, it's a little weird. Like, I know Christians that pick up money off the ground, so it's a little weird that they're kind of portraying it as if Christians don't pick up money. I don't know. That's kind of just what I got from the scene. It was a little weird. Um, Also, at some point in the episode, Riley's like, "Oh, what about like In God We Trust thing that's like on the money?" But then it's like, the In God We Trust thing wasn't added to the US currency until like way fucking later after the US was like founded or whatever. So like, whenever people bring up the whole "In God We Trust, one nation under God" sort of thing, it's like that shit wasn't added till like way fucking later. After all, and like also like weren't the early like people that kind of founded the country like weren't they didn't they say that it wasn't a Christian nation? So like why are people so insistent on the US being a Christian nation when the first people that first like did all this shit like they didn't want it to be a Christian nation. They wanted it to be a free land, land of the free. I mean, that's a whole fucking lie, anyways, because, the US was built off of racism and sexism and homophobia and shit, so it's like, it wasn't actually the land of the free, but still, like, the whole point of moving over to the US and, like, making the US a whatever nation was so you could have freedom of religion, so you could have whatever religion you wanted, but also it's like it should be freedom from religion. Like we shouldn't have to be religious if we're gonna be on this land. So like I don't know. Like the whole that's just that part was like what the fuck? And then also there was something about like there are no coincidences. That's this universe's way of saying hi or whatever. And it's like, what? Like, I don't know. Maybe the universe has its own whatever, but that doesn't necessarily mean God. Like, what if the universe is God itself? I don't fucking know. I'm not the universe. I don't fucking know. But at the same time, it's like we don't have any proof of that. So, like, I'm not gonna believe that there's a God or that the universe is God or whatever. I don't like. There's no proof of that. So, like, why should I believe it? And it's like, yeah, there are coincidences. That does happen a lot. So you know, kind of weird. And then hearing voices, like there was a whole part there about like, oh, this person would hear the voice of God, and then they kind of played off a weird joke of hearing voices, and I was like, that's a little weird, because like there are people who actually hear voices, and it's part of a whole thing where it's like, you know, these people have a hard time with like auditory hallucinations and stuff. And it's like, I don't know if we should really be making jokes of hearing voices. Like, I don't know. Because, people always talk about like hearing the voice of God or something. And yeah, if you're hearing voices, you should probably go in somewhere and talk to a doctor before saying it's the word of God or you're hearing God or whatever. But also, it's like, it's not something to joke about either. Like, it's kind of a serious thing. Like, if you're hearing voices, go talk to a doctor. It's not something that you should really take lightly. So, I don't know why they would make a joke of that. It's kind of weird. And then there's some shit about how it's like, oh, you need to believe in something. It's like, I mean, sure, but like we don't need to believe in a god. We can believe in other things. Like I, I can believe in love and kindness. I don't have to believe in a God. I don't need a God to have love and kindness. I can do that without a God, you know? So it's like, we don't need to believe in a God. We can believe in other stuff. And then there's a whole thing about like science can't explain everything, and it's like, sure, but that doesn't mean God exists. That just means that we haven't explained it yet. That doesn't mean you should shoehorn God into every little thing that we don't understand. We just haven't understand we just don't understand it yet. Like it's just not understood by humans yet. That doesn't mean we should put God in every single empty spot that we can find. Like it's kind of weird that they bring up the science can't explain everything when we like however many years ago we couldn't explain this or that, and now we can through science and through history and everything. Like we don't need to shove God in everything. Like we should try to find the answers, the true thing behind this thing. We shouldn't just be like, oh, God did it, and then call it a day. We should actively try to find the reason behind things instead of just being like, oh, God did it, we're done here. Like, I don't know. It's a little weird. And yeah, and then at some point Maya says she needs a break from Riley because Riley's so like pushy about the whole God thing, and it's like, yeah, like if I had a friend like that, I would definitely need a break from her because it's too much. It's too fucking much. And then there's some line about Christians and atheists can't be friends or whatever, because like one of the characters is like, how are me and them friends when we're so different and they believe that and I believe this? And it's like, what? What? Why would you not be able to be friends just because you don't believe in a God and they do believe in a God? Like, what? Like, I know some pretty chill and cool Christians, and I'm still friends with them, even though they're Christian and I'm atheist. Like, I shouldn't have to not be friends with them just because we have a different view on God. So, like, what? The only time I'm not gonna be friends with a Christian is if they are pushing their religion on me when I tell them I don't want their religion, or they're homophobic, transphobic, sexist, ableist, all this horrible shit, racist, all of that crap. Because, like, there are a lot of Christians who are all of those things or some of those things, and it's like I can't be friends with horrible people. Obviously, there are still some cool Christians, but it seems to be very few and far between. Like, I just there's just, I see too many Christians that are really shitty people, and it's like, well, fuck you too. Um, but for the Christians that are really cool and chill, like, I can still be friends with them. Like, them believing in God doesn't automatically make me not friends with them. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And then there's some other line in the show about, oh, why won't everyone believe what I believe? And it is a very Christian thing to think that, like, be like, why can't everyone believe the same stuff I believe? And it's like, cause not everyone's you. Not everyone has to believe in the same shit that you believe. Like, I don't give a shit that people are Christians. I just don't want them to fucking push their religion on me and be hateful with it. Like, I don't care if you believe in God, just don't be a piece of shit to me, and I don't care. Like, don't use your religion to hate me, and then I won't care. Like, that's it. That's literally it. Like, I don't care what you believe, just don't use it to be a horrible person. That's literally all I want. So it's like, why are Christians always like, you have to believe in what I believe? Why doesn't everyone believe the same shit that I believe? It's like, stop fucking crying and leave people alone. Like, pushing your crap on people is exactly why people don't believe in your shit. Like, that's one of the many reasons why people are atheists, is because Christians are always pushing their shit on people, and it makes it so we don't want anything to do with your religion. So, like, fucking stop. Leave us alone. Um, and then there's a whole thing in the episode, there's a whole scene in the episode about how you can't see air, but but you still believe in it. And it's such a stupid fucking argument because you can see air. You can see oxygen. Like there's, a scientific thing that you can do where you can see oxygen. You can see like the molecules or whatever, and then you can see it like floating around. Like you can see H2O and stuff like that, and you can see all this other shit, and yeah, like you can see little things. Like obviously to the normal human eye, you can't see all this little stuff, but if you do a microscope or if you, I don't know, freeze it or something, do some sort of science shit. I don't know how to explain it because I'm not a scientist. I've never done that, but scientists have done different things in order to see little tiny things that the normal human eye can't see. So, like, yeah, you can see all these things, technically, but only if you do a certain thing with it. But also, you can see air. You can see the wind blowing through things. You can feel it there. You can feel the wind. You can see people breathe it in. Like, and we know oxygen exists because we need oxygen. And like trees give off oxygen, plants give off oxygen. So like we know it exists because we can see it and feel it. And when you breathe in and out, you can feel it in your lungs. You can feel it go down, you know, to into your lungs and come out of your lungs, and you can see other people breathe in and breathe out. You can feel it through your hair. You can feel it like go through your clothes and stuff. You can see it blowing through the trees and the grass and everything. So it's like you can see air and you can see all this stuff, but like obviously it's like invisible, but like you can still like see it and feel it and stuff. So like it's such a stupid argument being like, oh, you can't see air, but it's still there. It's like, yes, you can. You can see air, you can see oxygen. Like, you just have to, like, see it in a different way than other things. Like, bruh. Or, like, there's a whole other part where it's like, oh, you can't see all the people in their buildings, but you know they're there. It's like, duh. Like, I can hear them sometimes, and I can see them outside sometimes, and I can see their lights turning on and off. It's like, why? Like, I just, or I can meet them at some point. Like, it's such a stupid fucking argument. It's like, bro, I don't see God, I don't hear God, I don't feel God, I don't, whatever with all this shit. So, like, there's literally zero evidence of God, but there is evidence of air. There's evidence of people living and being in other buildings. Like, what? Like, there's literal evidence of those other people and air, but there's no evidence of God for me. So, like, it's such a stupid fucking argument. Like, who fucking wrote this episode? Um, but yeah. And then, religion should be free. Like, there is some point in the episode where, like, characters are like, oh yeah, if you believe in something different, that's perfectly fine. But it's like, then why are you trying to push the other characters to be religious? Like, you literally went on this whole thing about you can't see this, so therefore God exists. It's like, bro, like, I just, you're contradicting yourself. And then Maya, I guess becomes religious, or at least she says she prays at the end of the episode. She's like, "Oh yeah, I prayed for the first time and whatever," and yeah, it was kind of just like, why couldn't she stay an atheist. Like, the whole episode, one character was like, oh, hey, if you believe in one thing, that's okay. Like, you don't have to believe in everything someone else believes in. But then this character ends up praying by the end of the episode, and it's kind of just like, I don't know. It's a little weird. Like, you could have at least just let her be herself and not be pressured into, like, praying and stuff. Because, like, I mean, obviously, there are people who were atheists and then became Christians or whatever, and then there's people who were Christians and became atheists. Like I was a Christian and I became an atheist, so there's all that, but still, I just kind of like the whole episode. There was other shit about like, hey, you're just fine believing in whatever you believe, and then they make a character switch beliefs, and it's kind of like, bruh. Why? Why couldn't she just believe what she believed? Like, not everyone has to switch beliefs, you know? Like, I don't know. It was a little weird. But yeah, this episode, I guess, wasn't as bad as the autism one because the whole thing with the autism episode, they were acting like having autism was like cancer or some shit, and it was like really fucking uncomfortable to watch. This one was also kind of uncomfortable, but at the same time, it's like wasn't as horrible of an uncomfortable. So I don't know. It was still just like really weird and just like stupid argument after stupid argument, and it's just like, bruh, who like, bruh, like why? Why did they make this episode and just have such stupid arguments in this, being like, this is whatever, so therefore God exists? And it's like, no, stop. That's not how it fucking works. That's, no, that's just, no. So, you know, I just wanted to talk about this episode because I'm an atheist, and watching this episode kind of was just a big what the fuck. So, yeah. Anyways, I think I'll end this video here because it's already a long video. So, yeah, anyways, I guess bye then.